It's Brother Denal coming back with another Wisdom Wednesday, man. Glad to be here, man. Right. Hope you guys are having a good week. This is hump day for most, right? Getting over that hump. This will be becoming a wife part 3. I think this might be the last part of the series. But we'll move with the spirit, right? This title today, or this segment of becoming a wife, is going to be concerning righteous compromising. Righteous compromise, because we know in relationships, compromises have to take place, but we're going to display what's righteous compromising versus compromising that'll lead you to destruction, right? First and foremost, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of his Son, who is an instrument of salvation for the nation, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. We see him as our Lord and Savior, and we're waiting for his return, patiently and faithfully waiting for his return, right? Um, Without further ado, jump right into it, man. Righteous compromising, right? A lot of these scriptures are going to be kind of tailored to people that are, not. Uh, it's not their position to be in this truth, or I'll say it like this: people that are not in the truth, right? That are not following the law, statutes, and commandments, right? But also, it will coincide with those that are in the truth too. Sometimes, there's a lot of doctrines floating around in the truth, and sometimes, man, it's not a wise thing to compromise for that as well, right? And we'll jump into a couple of those examples. I want to share my screen real quick. And Lord willing, this goes smoothly, man. My Google Chrome was acting up for some reason, and now I am on Microsoft Edge, so we'll see how it goes. But uh, you know, regular scheduled program here. We're gonna go to the book of First Kings, chapter 11, um, and I want to start at verse number. uh, I'll start at verse 1, right? Talking about King Solomon. But King Solomon loved many strange women together with the daughters of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, right? And I'm bringing this out not really to highlight, you know, or to emphasize not to get with other nations, but in like manner, those that are, are in the world still as well, right? So that are not keeping these law, statutes, and commandments, that are following after America, the ways of America, right? The ways of this westernized culture, or it's not my position that we are in colloquial Christianity, but if you're a woman that's in colloquial Christianity, you might not want to follow after somebody that is into Buddhism or Hinduism either as well. So, right, it's all about being equally yoked here. But it's our position that we're in the pure doctrine of this Bible, that's being in the truth, recognizing that we are the descendants of the Israelites, right? And we have a standard to uphold, which are these laws, statutes, commandments, proceeded to Deuteronomy chapter 4, right? But nonetheless, verse number 2, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come into unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. So Solomon chose these women that were forbidden, right? I guess, somewhere down the line, he thought he was wiser than this advice from the Most High, that he could control his love for the Most High and his obedience to the Most High, even with dealing with these women that he fell in love with, right? Verse number 3, and he had 700 wives, princes, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart, right? So, in his household, it was kind of like America, right? A big boiling pot of confusion, right? He had so much going on from different ways of life in there, and he kind of felt susceptible to those women in their ways of life, right? Verse number 4, for it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father, right? So the point here I'm making is, um when compromising or when knowing what to compromise with, right? You first and foremost, you do not want to compromise anything that's going to take away your heart from the Most High, right? And to serve other gods, right? Whether you know of these guys or not, right? So, for instance, it's our position that we do not celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of those things. We recognize those as pagan holidays. I think the world recognizes them as pagan holidays. Um, Being dumbed down is just the ways of the heathen, right? You're not going to find people celebrating Christmas in the Bible. You're not going to find people celebrating Thanksgiving in the Bible, right? These are customs of heathens of other nations, right? That turn away our hearts from the Most High, that promote idolatry, right? So, for women, right, because we're talking about becoming a wife. If you're in this truth and you have that knowledge that we're not supposed to be, inclining our hearts to these ways of the other nations and paganistic ways, right? It wouldn't behoove you to go and search for a man, a husband that celebrates these things, right? For especially if a husband is supposed to be the head of the wife, you want a man that's already anchored, right? Already doing what he's supposed to do. Matter of fact, I'll pull that out, right? Let's go to the book of Sirach, right? You want a husband that's already anchored and is already doing what he's supposed to do. You don't want, see, a lot of women go kind of astray because for some reason it's in a woman's characteristic that they got to be a fixer upper most of the time, right? They got to go and look for basket cases or nut jobs that they got to fix up. And I don't know why you guys think that, but you don't have to do that, right? You can actually go and find a man that has it all together, and I promise you the outcome will be better. We did a video on expectations. That's the number one way you can have failed expectations is what is going to get a man that needs fixing, right? And you seeing the potential in him, and you getting frustrated that he never reaches the potential that you saw in him before you got with him, right? Because you said, man, I can make this man the perfect man. I can make this man, it doesn't work like that, right? A lot of times, especially when people are old or older, right? There ain't no changing that person, right? Only the Most High can change that person, right? And especially when you're dealing with men are very prideful creatures, especially when it comes to women. And it shouldn't be that way, but it's just how it is in nature, right? I know a lot of women feel like they can never tell their husbands anything that they will listen to, right? The husband, it's just in our nature to always feel like we're doing the right thing and that we're making the right decisions for our family and for our women and stuff like that, even when sometimes we fall short. And so you do not want to get a guy, right, that is a fixer upper, right? Number one, do not get a guy that's a fixer upper, right? That's nothing for you to be compromising with. Do not compromise a man for his living. Even if he tells you he's trying to get right, even if he tells you, oh yeah, man, that truth stuff sounds kind of cool, man, right? But he's still in the crystals and praying to his ancestors and all that stuff. I think and you telling all your girlfriends and all the men in your life, yeah, he's cool. I think he's really coming into the truth. He believes he's an Israelite, right? But he's on all that whatever that young Pharaoh guy or whatever, all them, high conscious people are into. You know what I'm saying? You don't want a guy that is going to be, right, a fixer upper, or that's not all the way there yet, right? That's how most women fall into being beguiled or being in relationships that they're constantly trying to get out of, right? But it's too late. You want a guy like this, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse number 12. It says, but be continually with a godly man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, right? Whose mind is according to thy mind and will sorrow with thee if thou miscarry, right? So one, let's go down the line. You want to be with a godly man, one that you know to keep the commandments, not one that you think might keep the commandments later on. Oh, he's getting there. It's really setting in. I can tell that when we talk, he likes it, right? I think he's going to come fully into this thing. No, you want somebody that's already into this thing. That way he can lead you properly. You know what I'm saying? Someone that's already anchored. A lot of women want to go into the marriage being the anchor, right? And Nothing's I would say nothing's wrong with wanting to be, that rock, that pillar of rest, but you got to understand that the husband, when it comes to spiritual, right, spirituality, he should be the anchor, right? Because he's going to be the one that's going to be able to move not out of emotion but through obedience, right? A lot of times the weaker vessel makes decisions off of emotion, right? So one, you want to be continued with a godly man, that one that to keep the commandments, right? This should be non-negotiable, right? Don't get you a fixer-upper. Get you somebody that's already keeping the commandments, right? Save you the heartache, right? You might say, man, that's well, that's too easy, right? I want a challenge. No, you do not want a challenge when it comes to you and your husband and your family, right? Make it easy on yourself. Um, don't negotiate in your mind. Don't get you a fixer upper. Get you a godly man that keeps the commandments, right? Number two, a mind that is according to thy mind. When it says a mind that's according to thy mind, this is perfect, right? And I'm gonna segue this into even people in the truth, right? So a mind that's according to thy mind. Now, now look, there's a lot of doctrines in the truth, right? Um, there's some camps and congregations and people out there that are now believing that we can eat the abominable foods like pork and shellfish and stuff like that, right? If you don't believe that, right? If you believe that is a sin, that is not a righteous compromise. Oh well, he's in the truth and he believes this and he gave me this breakdown for it, so I'm just gonna go with that. You know what I'm saying? Even though you've been in the truth X amount of years, right? You've been in the truth X amount of years, and the whole time you've been in the truth, you believed and understood that eating these unlawful foods were unlawful, right? These abominable food were unlawful. And now a handsome guy comes along, right, with a new doctrine, right, that you're not really down with. But since he gives you a half behind breakdown or explanation, you think it's okay to go ahead and eat these abominable foods, and tolerate it. And now he got you in the kitchen making abominable foods, right? Because that's not a righteous compromise, right? If you see something as a sin, a transgression of the law, right? Um, One, you need to understand, if he gives you a breakdown, you need to be able to give that same breakdown. Because for you to go with it and for you to say you believe it, you got to know it for yourself too, right? You do not want to, when it comes to righteous and compromising, right? You want to weigh the balance. You want to make sure you understand it, know, and believe it for a fact, right? Don't just settle for a half behind breakdown because the guy is handsome and because you want to get married, right? And you want some kids, right? That's not where we're going. That's not what we're doing, right? A mind that's according to thy mind, right? Another thing, we're going to bring this precept out in a minute, right? But a mind that's according to thy mind. There's some people out. There's some camps and congregations out there that are okay with polygyny. There's some camps and congregations that's out there that's not. There's some people and individuals that are okay with it, and some individuals that's not. Right? Do not get with a guy that is thinking about having a polygynous marriage and bringing in other wives if you're not okay with it. Right? Am I saying now? Now listen to what I'm saying. Right? Now, the westernized culture will have you believe that polygyny was not going on in the Bible, and if it was a bad thing, right? I'm here to tell you that it was happening in the Bible, and I can't call it a bad thing. I can't call it a bad now, right? Now there's now look, I'm not saying you have to agree with that way of life. It's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? There's the precept, and you know what? I was gonna pull it up, but I might just read it. No, I'll go to it later. First Corinthians 6:12. But a lot of things are lawful unto us, but a lot of things are not expedient for everybody. You know what I'm saying? A mind that's according to thy mind. Look. Hear me out now, right? Just because polygyny is not a sin, right? Is no transgression in the law, right? There's another precept I got written down where it says, where there's no where there's no law, there's no transgression. Just because it's not a sin doesn't mean that your spirit agrees with it, right? And that's perfectly fine, right? If you don't want to, a lot of things are lawful for me, but not expedient. It might not agree with you. You know what I'm saying? It might, it, if he brings, if you're in a polygamous marriage, it might bring out a spirit in you that's not comely, right? It might bring out a spirit in you that um that you might become sorrowful, you might become mad all the time, right? You might be, you might get snarky, jealous, right? Envious, covetousness, right? If that's the spirit that's going to come about you, it might not be for you. And all I'm saying to you is don't go for a man, right? If that's how you feel, do not go for a man that has polygyny on the table. He might come to you and say, right now, man, I'm just okay with one wife, but you never know what the future holds. That's a red flag, women. That is a red flag. That means, hey, look, I just want to bag you, and that way in the future, when I do want one, you can't say I didn't say in the future I might not want one, right? Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna marry him, and then time's gonna go by, right? Whether it's long or short, and then he's gonna be ready to bring in another wife, and he's gonna say, "Well, I never told you I wasn't into polygyny," right? If he even says that, if he says that he is, or it's a possibility, take him for that. Take him at his word, right? And nothing's wrong with a man saying that as long as he's upfront, and contrary to popular belief, it's on the woman if she takes the go ahead and gets with this man. It's on you, right? It is on you. No one else. Is on you. Don't try to run. Don't try to get out of the marriage. It is on you, right? Now, right? A mind according to thy mind. Likewise, other way, vice versa. If you're okay with that, you know what I'm saying? Go, by all means, go ahead, right? Next part, it says, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry, right? You want a man that's going to be passionate, compassionate towards you when you misstep, when you miscarry and stuff like that. Not a lion like we read earlier in the previous videos. Not a lion in the house that's gonna bark at you every time you make a mistake, because we all make mistakes, right? You want a man that's gonna be compassionate with you when you make your mistakes, and be able to sorrow with you when you sorrow, right? You know. A man is gonna have some type of emotion, some type of feeling, right? If a relative of yours passes away, he's sentimental about that, right? He's not just acting like it's another day in the neighborhood. You want a man that's gonna be compassionate with you, right? But let's I said I was gonna go to it, so let's go to 1 Corinthians 6:12 really quick. First Corinthians 6:12. And matter of fact, let me see. I gotta check the chat, man. All right, no comments yet. Just had to check. I was blocking it. 1 Corinthians 6:12. It says, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Right? You have to understand and know this precept, right? It's very, very. Now we just talked about a couple things like polygyny and holidays and stuff. Well, now holidays aren't lawful, but um, you know, things like that, right? For instance, right? If you know you struggle with eating, right? If you know you struggle with alcoholism, right? Um, there's no law against eating food, right? There's a law against gluttony, but there's no law against eating food. There's no law against being merry and drinking your choice wine from time to time, right? As long as you don't live a life of a drunkard, right? But if you have a problem with eating, if you have a problem with gluttony, right? Even though these things technically aren't a sin to do, right? In moderation, it wouldn't behoove you to get with a man, right? Who loves to drink. He might be able to control himself, right? That's cool, right? He might know how to do it in moderation and be cool. But if you have a problem with drinking, he's gonna tempt you, right? What it say at the end? But I will not be brought under the power. If him just doing that is subjecting you to the powers of that thing, right? It's gonna take over your life. You need to walk away, right? He might not be the guy for you unless he tells you, you know what, for you, right? Before you even get married, if he tells you, for you, I am willing to never drink again, right? Matter of fact, I won't drink till we meet our Lord and Savior, right? You know what I'm saying? The Lord said the next time he'll drink wine is, or the blood of the grape is when he sees us again, right? When he comes back, he might let you know, hey, look, for you, I won't touch any alcohol, right? Now, if he says that and you take him at his word for it, you know what I'm saying? By all means, proceed. But if he's saying, hey man, you just gonna have to get a handle on it, man, because I ain't putting down this bottle. You know what I'm saying? I ain't putting down my wine, he might not be the guy for you. You tell him, hey, this was lovely, for my sanctity, for my spirit. I think we just gotta end things here, right? It's nothing against you. I just think this relationship isn't expedient for me, right? For same thing for food. I'm watching it's probably an old show, but I'm just now into it. I'm loving my soap operas now, as my wife would say. I didn't know it was a soap opera, but hey man, if it's a soap opera, I love soap operas. But This Is Us, right? Um there's a girl on there, her name is Kate. She's a big girl, right? And she met her she told herself she was not going to marry a fat guy, right? um she said, I can't do it. It'll be bad for me. It wouldn't be expedient for me. So she's going to these I don't know what they're called. It's like an AA meeting for bigger people, right? For them to lose weight, right? For people that are on a weight loss journey. And she meets this guy in the group, and he is a big guy, right? And she tells him straight up, "Nah, I'm sorry, can't mess with you," right? I told myself I wouldn't get with a fat guy because it wouldn't do me no good, and I need to get right, right? And he promised her. He promised her. He said, "For you, right? I don't really care about it too much." He was like, "I don't really care about my weight too much, and I don't really care about my eating habits too much. But for you, I would go on this life change and this journey of weight loss with you, right?" And that was her compromise. She was like, "Hey, look, if you're serious, cool, we can do it. But if you know what I'm saying, is if you keep watching, he falls short and he starts to go back to his old eating habits." And she was like, "Man, what's going on?" Right? Again, now if that now that ties in two of these series. If you watch Becoming a Man, it was, if you vow to anyone or the Most High, you always got to come through. If you say something, you got to come through. And he failed on that, right? So keep in mind, there is opportunity for people to fail in their promises as well when you do these compromises, right? People aren't perfect, and so be honest with yourself. Before you even make the compromise, do you trust that the person will keep it, and will you be okay if the person falls short, right? Again, that's why I said don't even get a fixer upper. Don't get somebody that's half stepping. Get somebody that you know is going to be that person for you, right? But come on, let's move on. I got like two more precepts, I think, right? Um, because well, matter of fact, I think I just got one because I mentioned one. I'll go to it just in case, right? I'll go to it. Let's go to Romans, just so you guys can lay eyes on it, right? Romans chapter 4 and 15. 4 and 15. Sorry if y'all can hear my stomach, man. I haven't ate all day. Boom. Right. Romans 4 and 15. Because the law worketh wrath. Talking about the law of sin, I think. For where no law is, there is no transgression, and that's the point. For where no law is, there is no transgression, right? Meaning that it's okay to compromise things that don't go against the law, right? For instance, if a man says um every Sabbath, every Sabbath day we do X, Y, and Z. Like we we open our books and we read 3 chapters a day, and then we pray for an hour, right? There's no law against that. It might be something new to you, but if there's no law against it, it's okay to compromise. You can be like, okay, I can get with that. Every Sabbath, we're gonna read X amount of chapters a day, and we're gonna pray for an hour. I can get with that, right? Or if he says every Sabbath we always eat a lamb leg and with hot sauce, right? There's no law against that. It might be a tradition of man, but there's no law against it. You can compromise something like that, right? Now, if he says every Sabbath we always go on a hike, right? Um, now you gotta say, hey, look, man, I understand you the truth. I understand you probably got some breakdown for it, but me personally, I don't believe that going on a hike is resting. And I'm sorry, that's not up for debate. It's not up for compromise. And he might be like, well, that's cool. You can stay at the house. Yeah, but I still can't be with a man that's going to do that and go against my beliefs and breaking the Sabbath. I can't be with you. These are, the differences between righteous compromising and not, right? And these are things you gotta be okay with and know, right? Last precept, real quick. This has been a short one, but a goodie, man. Short one, but a good. I think this one is very powerful. Let's go to Mark chapter 7. Mark chapter 7 and 9. Just to hone in on this last precept, right? Mark 7 and 9. Right? Let's see. Let's start at verse 8. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the traditions of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many others such like things ye do. Right? This is talking about you somebody upholding the traditions of men, like washing pots and cups after you use them, higher in regard than the commandments of God. Right? Um, let's see here. Verse number 9. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that you may keep your own tradition, right? Just putting an emphasis on this, saying that just to piggyback on what Christ is saying, the commandments of God outweigh no man. So this is a principle of righteous compromising, right? The commandments of God are not up for debate, right? The traditions of men, like the washing of pots and pans after you eat, right? That is compromisable, right? So what am I saying here? If you have a tradition, right, that you do, if you have a routine, if it's not a law, right, if it's not a sin, it's okay to compromise, right? If it's a sin, if you believe something is a sin, it's non-compromisable. It's not on the table. It's not for negotiating. Now, here's the twist, right? Sometimes things can be lawful, meaning that they don't break the law, but they might not be expedient for you. You have to know yourself. Like Ecclesiastes, I believe, says, or Corinthians says, examine yourself, right? Every day. You got to know for yourself, right? What type of girl you are, what type of woman you are, what you're okay with, what your spirit can accept and agree with, right? That won't cause you to dash your foot against a stone, right? Something that won't cause you to start tripping, right? And when you understand the things that are lawful for you and not expedient, that'll help you even more understand the difference, the making the right decisions when it comes to righteous compromising, right? Um, when you can understand that traditions of men, right, are not as important as these commandments, you understand that you can let some things go for the greater good of a relationship. When you understand that the breaking of God's commandments are non-negotiable, and when you understand that, hey, look, some things might be lawful, but I know myself, and it's just not expedient for me, and for the life I want to live, or for me to be around, because it might cause me to fall short in my marriage. It might cause me to fall short in front of my kids, right? When you understand those things, man, you guys will master righteous compromising, right? And I think I'll end it right there. If you guys ever have any questions about a situation with a man whether or not you should compromise your beliefs or your faith concerning a certain topic or something like that, please feel free to DM us, comment on our pictures or something like that. Get our attention, right? And ask us a question, man. It never hurts to get other men's feedback on proving other men, right? We're men ourselves, so we already know how the game go. You know what I'm saying? We'll tell you how it is, and just to protect you in the long run, because it right now, in our nation, we seeing a lot of marriages fail, and we want to put an end to that for sure. Just to protect you guys from getting into something that you're gonna want to try to crawl out later on. So if you have a question about whether or not it's a righteous compromise to do X, Y, and Z, please let us know, man. We'll you know we'll be happy to help you. When it comes to making your decisions and all that stuff, just giving you a second opinion or a second pair of eyes on the situation, right? But without further ado, man, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm Brother Danah. This has been a Wisdom Wednesday, Becoming a Wife, part number 3, Righteous Compromising. I think this was a short one, but it's definitely a goodie, man. Y'all keep this one in your back pocket. Go back and save some of these precepts, meditate on them, and make sure you don't settle, man. Do not get you a fixer-upper. Do not get you a fixer-upper. Get you a man that's already doing a thing, right? And remember, man, if you're not gathering, you're scattering. If you're not helping the Lord gather these lost sheep, you're doing the exact opposite, being counterproductive, and you're scattering it, man. So if you're not doing nothing, do something. Pick up that plow and get to work. All right. I'm Brother Danah. I say shalom.